You're listening to African News Tonight live on the following frequencies: 15580 and 6080 kilohertz on the Voice of America. I'm Kim Lewis in Washington. The Washington, D.C.'s Mayor's Office on African Affairs and the George Mason University's Institute for Immigration Research announced a collaboration that will focus on the African immigrant population in Washington. The U.S. Capitol is the second most popular destination in the U.S. for about 161,000 African immigrants. The survey research will determine age, employment, education, and the cultural diversity among African-born constituents from various countries on the continent. Safiay Khalid is the executive director of the Institute for Immigration Research at George Mason University. She spoke with me about the motivation behind the survey.
Washington, D.C. is the fifth largest immigrant destination in the U.S. and the second destination of choice for about 161,000 African immigrants. Yet, there's somewhat limited research available focusing specifically on the African community. For example, existing data collected primarily by the U.S. Census does not distinguish between Black, African American, and other. So it's challenging to extract data relevant specifically to the African population. And this limitation was the motivation behind conducting the survey.
When will the survey begin and how will it be conducted?
The survey will begin in the fall of 2015 and will conclude by the end of the year. We will design and send survey questionnaires to various African immigrant communities, businesses, professionals in the district through the assistance of Mr. Mamadou Samba, who's the director of the D.C. Mayor's Office on African Affairs. The survey will include questions related to employment, education, community involvement, housing, and so forth.
Now, these results, how will they be used to help African immigrants?
Well, the survey results will uncover evidence of economic and social contribution of the D.C. African immigrants, and it will create a new confidential and in-depth data source describing the African community. Also, the results will facilitate the work of service providers and government agencies by connecting the African community to resources available. I would also like to add that the survey results will be shared with participants, community organizations, advocacy groups, and will be available via the Internet to all residents in the D.C. metro area.
What do you see as some of the biggest challenges that African immigrants face in Washington, D.C.?
I think the challenges that exist for African immigrants are similar to those experienced by other immigrant groups as they come and integrate into a new country and culture. These include lack of access to health, education, employment, and business opportunities. Also, there is the issue of underemployment. There are highly educated Africans not being able to find work that compensates them fairly for their skills.
And then what can Washington offer African immigrants?
I think Washington, D.C. is an immigrant-friendly city. D.C. is home to a large number of African-born immigrants representing a multitude of languages, culture, and socioeconomic background. In fact, Washington, D.C. has the only office on African affairs established at the municipal level in the U.S. This means that there is a commitment to welcome Africans, support their development, and recognize their role as active participants in the city's economic and social life.
Also, Safiay, can you tell us a little bit about the Institute for Immigration Research and really just what the whole objective of the Institute is?
Absolutely. The Institute for Immigration Research is a joint venture between George Mason University and the Immigrant Learning Center of Massachusetts. Research conducted by the Institute examines the economic impact of all immigrant groups with a focus on the economic contributions of immigrant entrepreneurs with high level of education or skills.
Safiay Khalid is the executive director of the Institute for Immigration Research at George Mason University. She spoke with me from Washington, D.C.